I just wanted to say that I want to calibrate your expectations. I'm probably the least expert in internet things. Before joining the Commission, so I worked for 13 years in the banking sector on technological projects trying to give tools to marketing for selling financial products. So actually we would have dreamt to have internet because the tool we were using at that time were payment transactions. So we were trying to spy you. I worked for Visa and MasterCard and for banks to spy you based on your payment transactions to understand your life. But now you have something better. You have Facebook, and so that's as close as to the internet I came in the past. Then I worked 8 years in spectrum policy. So that's where I understood a few things about wireless stuff. And that's why maybe now that I joined recently the Network Technologies Unit, I have given the responsibility for the wireless broadband small sector. So, but I'm excited because the wireless broadband is probably where most of the research has to be done in the future. So I thought, what can I do responsibly not to waste your time? I can do two things quickly, I think. One is to give you a sense of what the Commission Service, my unit and the Directorate are discussing for the next work programs, the direction for research, and then give you three thoughts, personal thoughts about where I think that innovation issues are real and are relevant for the future internet. So I'll skip this slide because it gives you the situation today in our area. Unit in particular, you have mainly research in wireless, the wireless area, the optical network area, and then on top the softer things, so the network management, and to some extent it branch out to the other units in the directorate, the experimental platform activities, the web entrepreneur, the software cloud, and so on. This is on the top. So this is the structure we use today, and basically it will remain this one. But where we believe we will put the focus in the coming years is really on software-defined networks, things moving from hardware to software, which in a second step or in parallel it will evolve to network function virtualization. And we think that the combination of both, and to some extent the second depends very much on the first one, then that's how you could unlock innovation, and in particular innovation for smaller players. And that's very suitable in Europe, I think, in particular. Which areas go really in broad sense? So in the wireless area, there will be mainly, the current activities will continue, and you can see them to different perspectives, but we think that these 6 boxes give you most of the focus. Cell management, how to go to a denser networks with very well managed picocells and microcells who will be able to cope with interference between them. The spectrum access management itself, how to make better use of cognitive radio and these kind of things. Use higher frequencies going to 28, 60 gigahertz. That will be important also. All this to address the spectrum scarcity that is really one of the issues for unlocking future innovation. The architectural aspects are also important, in particular how to integrate different types of networks in a seamless way, so the opportunistic networking. For example, the wireless edge networking, which would allow devices to talk together without going necessarily to the core. That's important. Intelligent antennas, MIMOs, and so on. This will continue, of course, being an area of research. And then all what I call the soft issues, which are not less important, the energy saving, security, cross-cutting issues. So we will structure probably our, let's say, work programs around this issue for the wireless. For the optical, nothing really new. There will be a focus on increasing speed, and we'll probably have prizes for breaking the 100 terabit or whatever. I think 100 terabit is already broken, but going beyond that. But mainly optimization of network resources, how to apply also finally what we have learned in wireless also in optical. I think that there is synergies that can be built. And then the all-optical routing, which is still an area of ongoing research. Now, how can I give you a glimpse of the next work programs? The first one in Horizon 2020 without disclosing what I'm not allowed to, because I cannot give you the budget. That's member states at first to get knowledge of that. But basically, if you look at these circles, they represent the relative importance of the funding that will be allocated to them if everything goes according to plan during 14 and 15. So you see that most of our X will go to a new PPP, the 5G PPP. 5G, of course, today is only a buzzword. We don't know what it is. It's more than a next generation wireless. We believe that it will be a generation of integrated wired and wireless systems. And we will use our power as the Commission to try to get to a consensus on what it is quickly. That's what maybe more our main added value beyond funding will be. But we will really focus. Also, working through a PPP will allow industry to better influence the work programs, the strategy. This will be complementary to the Future Internet PPP that is ongoing. We know there was a big call for the Future Internet PPP at the end of the year. You are involved. There will be a lot of experimentation and SMEs concerned. And this, of course, Future Internet PPP will continue, but it brings more the, let's say, the pull side of it. And we will come now with an infrastructure PPP 5G, which will give me more the technology push that was missing. Or actually, it's the right timing. Doing it too early would not have been appropriate. So we hope that it will complement them very well. Cloud will still be important, of course, including in networking, because the cloudification of networks is coming also. SDN and ICN, SDN, I talked about it, and information-centric networks, that will be an area. Actually, here we will put a little bit the alternative of what will not be covered here. For example, because to a large extent we will not control completely what the PPP strategy will be. That's up to industry. So we want to build parallel tracks also, so that there are challenges to competition to a reasonable extent to the PPP2, so that will be in this box. And also in this box where we will have more wireless research and smart optical networking projects. Fire will continue, as you know, in 14 and 15 with two different stages. These two gives the relative importance in terms of, I think it's quite big actually if you look compared to the PPP. Web entrepreneur, they shrink, I don't know, that's also important. So that's what I wanted to say about where we are going in terms of research on the short term. A PPP, of course, has a life duration of 6-7 years, 600-700 million of public funding. So this circle, as it's only the relative importance for 14-15, but it will continue and growing in the future. Now, more from I changed subject, and just to stimulate maybe the discussions, if we have the time. From a personal perspective, what are the big issues with innovation in Europe? There are many. So I thought, in the train, I thought, but what really is the key problems? And maybe you will object to them. I would be interested in having your view. Is that today, if you talk about future internet, you always think of Facebook and Google and so on. And we know how they work. They invented, or maybe without knowing, what is referred to in the economic literature as the super stacks. It means that they create integrated vertical companies, or not companies, service suites, if you want, so that they don't have to invest necessarily in all elements of the chain. If you take Apple, for those who are not familiar with the super stack concept, they try to control the device at the bottom, and at the top they have iTunes or FaceTime, so applications, and they can then squeeze all the value chain in between, because they extract the value at the top, because they control the two ends, and the others in the telecom operators and so on, they are only intermediaries, if you want. So that's why people say, no, the operators are a bit lost, not only in Europe, because all the value is extracted at the top, so they don't have enough value to invest in the new equipment and so on. So innovation is decreasing. So you only have innovation now at the over-the-top level, or the money for innovation is there. I think this is a big issue, and today there are 5 major, it's like a monopoly situation. And how to undo this? I don't have a solution, but I think that the only thing that the Commission has found as a response to that, when we discussed it internally, is to say, okay, go even further with competition, because only competition can de-verticalize the market, because maybe there will be competitors at a layer. I'm not so sure it will work, but maybe legally there is a limited range of tools you can use. But we have also the problem of the innovation financing. We're discussing that with João. You have tons of conferences talking about this, but to me, personally, I think that one of the key issues is the Silicon Valley model is not replicable elsewhere. These guys, even the type of contracts they use with entrepreneurs, everything is standardized. It's handy, it's fast. The contracts you don't discuss, the contracts are there, there are templates, and they are the same for, and all the brilliant entrepreneurs of the world go there. Even many European companies in creative centers, innovative centers like Munich or Cambridge, they have an antenna there, and they automatically adopt the mold of the Silicon Valley. So it's almost impossible to compete with that. So that's by itself, of course, is maybe an issue. We don't want necessarily to sell our IPR across the Atlantic all the time. Recipe, I don't know what we can do. It's a very negative message, but and the last one is the lack of single market for telecom. As I mentioned to some of you, I'm working personally with about 15 people on a new regulation that will be announced by Cruz in July. We are under embargo, so we cannot give the details, but obviously it is now recognized that the fact that we have, during 15 years, like I think Peter Drucker said that we have done very efficiently the wrong thing. So we have liberalized so well nationally that every time we were liberalizing even more in a member state, we were cementing a separate market, because regulatory remedies to create competition in different member states are different, incompatible sometimes. So we need to undo the omelette and have a single market. Now, I think what is public is that the new regulation will not be perfect. It will bring this concept of European passport for companies. So if you are a Portuguese operator, you will now be able, without any authorization, to operate everywhere in Europe. Only for spectrum, you have to abide, of course, by the spectrum rules of the host member states, not home member states, because, of course, there would be incompatibility otherwise. But there will be around that also, in the regulations, facilities, provisions allowing you to cut deals with local mobile operators to ease your presence in a different member state. And this will be coupled with access products, EU access products, so that not only you can operate outside of your borders, but those who are there and own critical infrastructure, they will be obliged to negotiate with you access to their infrastructure based on 2 or 3 European access products, which is, for example, VULA could be one of them, or bitstream access can be another one that is being discussed. So that does not mean that they have to offer it to you at any price, because it's an obligation of negotiations. But if the negotiations would fail within a certain period of time, then there is a conflict resolution mechanism that it will be put in place and so on, if this regulation is eventually adopted. It seems to me very ambitious. But you can imagine then, as a company, you start having the element to go across your borders. From a citizen viewpoint, there will be also important provisions, because there will be some common European consumer protection clauses, so that you cannot, if you want, as a consumer, you can always fall back to the European protection. So it's a bit complex, but it means that there will be standard clause for things like right to transparency. For example, it will be your right, in your contract you will have to have your operator telling you if he does traffic throttling or prioritization, and so this will be mandatory in your contract to be explicitly there, for example. Yeah, so that's to give you, so the political will to do this now is very strong. Cruz will announce that in July. No, are we going to succeed? That I don't know. I think going to solve the problem of the single market, that will probably not be sufficient, because these companies, wireless is probably the most important service. Of course, optical is important because wireless rely on optical, but the retail service being the wireless, the mobile service, the most important today. These companies have licensed for 20 years, no, 15 years, many have been renewed. So even if we have a good legislation in place, I'm not sure that the effect will be good, but it's better to be late than never do the necessary reform. I'll conclude on that. So, and thank you.